All right, shall I go first? Again, congratulations, getting through a lot of material in that short time. I just was interested by your two peer group assessments. So you had a valuation which was based on the auto safety sector, which I suppose is a bit more global, and then you had a sort of Swedish industrials valuation. Maybe you just explain the sort of the pretty big difference between those two valuation peer positions.
Yeah, we chose also, since Outlive is the clear market leader, we also chose to look at Swedish industrial companies that are similar in terms of operational leverage and also have selling their products in the international market. And these Swedish industrial companies, they're also exposed to the automotive industry in that some of their products are sold to the auto industry.
And the local competition, therefore, in the industrial sector, what's the company that you have in that peer group there, and what's the equivalent in the international? Is this the TRF and Takata ones?
Sorry, could you please repeat?
What are the direct competitors in those two sectors?
Yes, that would be TRW and Takata.
Could I ask a question about economies of scale? You talked particularly on slide 13 about how well placed the company is in China, and there's a general implication that it's always best to be big. But if you're big, you're the person who has the most market share to give up. Can you just talk about why you think in this business economies of scale are advantageous?
Well, as an example, in China, as you can see from the previous, Autoliv has a size advantage, and its size is significant, almost 5 times larger than any of its other suppliers. And in this industry, it's also very raw material heavy, as we have showed you in previously. So, with the size of Autoliv being 5 times as large as any other suppliers, it can definitely significantly lever on the economies of scale through the higher purchasing volumes.
But if I just may add, also, if you look at the auto industry and what characterizes it, you can see that, for example, Autoliv's customers, they are very big. They are global players, GM, Ford, Volvo, you name it. So basically what they require is a supplier, a reliable supplier that can support all their global platforms. So it's also not only about the volume, but also about the global presence, and that they can match their big customers.
One more thing. While we do not have the exact details here, we have seen that small local players in China, especially a firm called Jinheng, which is a Chinese local competitor, they have actually lost market shares in the last few years since they can't really offer the same quality of the products, since they don't really have the capacity to develop new products in the same pace as Outlive.
Could you expand a bit on the technology leadership, and presumably in the areas of the world which have the highest growth in terms of car production, probably I assume that cost is a big consideration, so probably they are not looking for the best technology but rather for the cheapest priced products. Any comment in this regard?
Yes, you could regard it in that way, but we think that, if you look at the customers, I would say that the safety is a very prioritized factor in the auto industry. For example, you can see the aftermath of the Toyota scandal of the braking systems error. It does have a huge impact for the automakers. And I would also say that, for example, in China, there is, especially when you look at the consumer confidence, you can say what they are looking after is actually they're more looking for more premium brands. And there's a trend of acquiring more quality and premium rather than low cost.
One risk you mentioned a few times was commodity prices. Can you talk about how the company manages that? Does it have any hedging programs? So forth?
No, they.
Yeah, but actually, what Autoliv actually does as a risk mitigation, they are actually every year they have an overview of their components of the raw material. So basically, if there is an increase in one raw material, they can actually choose to source another raw material in their components, in the products. They actually have a goal to keep the raw material price stable every year by doing this, shifting the raw material components, depending on the price developments.
Could you talk a little bit more about the litigation risk? I mean, it sounds, I'm not particularly familiar with this antitrust investigation. It doesn't sound very comfortable to be forecasting fines on this front. I mean, are we happy about the ethics of the company? Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, first we should say that no one actually knows anything about antitrust investigation for natural reasons, because the antitrust authorities want to give out any information. So the company are not saying anything, and we don't know anything. We can see that historically an antitrust fee would maybe be around 2% of sales, and that was also the stock price reaction to the news about antitrust investigation. And also, of course, as you say, important, what about the future? Are they today earning too high margins because of these antitrust issues? Will the margins fall tomorrow? But that is, of course, very difficult to say. It's still only an antitrust investigation, and we don't know nothing about what the outcome might be.
And just a comment about the 2 to 3% sales thing. We based it on a reference case, actually. There was another investigation going on back in 2008, which ended up in that a bunch of car glass manufacturers was fined around 2 to 3% of their sales. And we therefore use that one as a reference case.
Could you talk a little bit more about the commitment to innovation, and in particular, there are one or two references to kind of groundbreaking new things. It was up on your chart there where you were showing the increases to different items that have emerged in areas that we haven't really seen before. And there's a reference to lane departure assistance, and it would be interesting to kind of learn what's going on in that sort of area.
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's actually a very new product that's recently, in the autumn of 2011, been launched in the BMW 1 Series. And this lane departure, that's also actually a vision system that uses cameras to see the lanes on the road. And if the driver starts to deviate from the lane, it can warn the driver that it is about to do so.
Another very fascinating product is this road sign recognition system that actually will be able to recognize the speed limit of cars when you're driving. Thereby, so if you missed a speed sign a long time ago, it will always remind you what speeds you should hold when you're driving. So it's very cool stuff.
Perhaps a follow-up to that question. How much have you taken into account the risk that there might be a ground-changing development in the automotive safety area by a competitor that might change the market quite radically, as opposed to sort of incremental inventions and developments?
Well, what we have seen is actually the forefront of the new safety, the automotive safety market is actually these active safety systems, which are the products that we talked about previously, the prevention. kind of side. And in what we have seen throughout our analysis, we haven't been able to spot any other new technology shift that will be happening. This is the current technology shift that's happening. This segment is growing very, very fast, and Autoliv currently has 20% of the global market share, and is expected to take almost 30% of the market share in the subsequent years. Autoliv has been doing a lot of R&D investments in this area, and also made several acquisitions within the new active safety system. So we believe the company is well positioned in this technology area.
And if I may just add, also one advantage of being big is that you simply can acquire that technology. That's also basically what Autoliv has done in the past. If they see an innovative technology and